Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. Thanks for tuning in to episode 23 of Stationeers. So last episode, I was hooking up the vitals, monitoring, and logic and all that stuff, and I kind of ran out of time, so let's continue from there. I'm going to eat some fries. I'm going to paint some cables that need painting. Yes, it would be cheaper to paint one cable and then color them all, but you know, paint is pretty cheap. And I have a lot of green paint because I made some and had some. So now the vitals network is all hooked up properly. All I need to do is set up the monitoring, and then it will be good to go, which is a good feeling. I was thinking about this. I think the next project is to hit up heating and cooling. I think that's probably the next big system that I'm going to need before pressurization of my base. So that's something I'm going to start working on once I'm done with this bit. So, first things first, what we need to do is hook up all of the logic here. It should be a four-way corner. I don't often use four-way corners. I'm probably going to need some more cabling here. Corner. I don't love also putting cables inside frame parts, but you know, this is sometimes unavoidable. Corner, junction. And we're hooking this up just like we did the last one, so this should be another four-way corner. Or actually, you know, it doesn't need to be a four-way corner there. There's better ways to go about that. This could be a regular junction. I just need to connect this green here over to any of the cables here. Done. So now all these are all set up. The next part is do some labeling, because I'm not going to have any idea what I'm connecting to. So this was called Atmo power usage. So this is let's just copy and paste and just call this vitals power usage LED. Oops. Vitals battery LED. Now another thing is I don't have my battery data port hooked in anywhere. So I gotta add that data to the network down here as well, which requires me to have wire cutters in my hand. Ooh, am I gonna have enough cables? Just barely. Alright, so now the data port is accessible. Good. And these are named correctly. They need to be colored and obviously set up. Let's close that. It's a little bit more attractive. Looks like... yeah, there we go. See, that doesn't look so bad. Now, of course, all of these wires are going to be behind walls, but if I ever need to troubleshoot something, it'll be really nice to have those wires be very clear as what they're doing. Alright, let's continue with the labeling. So we've got this logic reader, power requirement logic reader. I guess I'll copy it over here. So power requirement logic reader. This can have the same name here because they are not going to be on the same data network. Green is isolated to green, purple is isolated to purple. They're not going to be able to see one another. Alright. And hence they can share the same names. So the power required logic reader is going to draw from the cable analyzer. I'm kind of curious, did I label this cable analyzer? It's very hard to... Atmo cable analyzer, I guess I did. Vitals, cable analyzer. Alright. So let's go hook this up. The power required will be input of the vitals cable analyzer. The variable will be, oops, power required. And it should be very low. Yes, that seems actually about right. As I add logic chips to this, the power required will actually go up. The power available will be the vitals battery. And this will be charge. And that seems about right. And then the logic writers here are going to, and yes, I'm going to need more cables, are going to need to lead to the... Okay, I only have 10 more cables there. The LEDs. And then I need to hook the LEDs up to have the right color. So let's get some good old-fashioned regular cables here. And this is why I've been smelting my my copper. Because everything likes to use an enormous amount of copper. That's probably enough for now.
Jetpack on.
Man, sometimes when you jetpack, you just feel like Iron Man. It's great. So for this to connect, it's a little challenging because there's this heavy cable that kind of runs in the way. And the thing is, that heavy cable is not going to change locations. So what I could do is to bring the cables over from here. Again, a little ugly, a little inefficient, but it will work. If you have OCD and haven't played this game, I'm just gonna say, or not OCD, but just like things nicely laid out. This game is very challenging to have things laid out the way you want them. Oh, so the first reader, actually, you know what? I'm going to hijack this reader here. So the input here is going to be the memory. So let's get that going. It is alphabetical, so I'm trying, there we go. Logic memory. And grab the settings, so it should be 0. And this logic writer is going to grab the power available logic reader. And output to the vitals LED of color. Okay, turn these little LEDs on. I think the default might have been blue, green. So I probably screwed that up. So one is white. -1. Still blue. Yeah, I guess I could uninstall it. But I'm sort of curious to find the... Oh, it's 2. Okay, perfect. That means that this memory is no longer needed for now, until I set up heating and cooling. And then I can also... Oh, you know what? These might need to move, because this is where my airlock was gonna go. Yeah, let me quickly see if that's gonna become a problem. Some airlocks allow you to have cables up there, some don't. So the airlock I want probably can only be fabricated. Because I don't think it's on any of these standard ones. Oof. Alright, that adds a little wrinkle, because now I have to set up my fabricator. I had sort of decommissioned the fabricator for a while. Okay, fabricator. Maybe not to the point where you throw your gear into a plumbing network. That's probably not a lot useful. And where's my fabricator motherboard? There it is. I knew I hadn't recycled it. That'd be a really bad move. I just have to make another one. Let me crank out one normal cable here. I don't want to start painting green everywhere. So we'll make it red instead. I guess I could have just left this fabricator up and running and left it alone. There's most of the mission critical items, like the things for basic survival, are going to be obtainable through non-fabricator. But every now and then you'll get something that requires a fabricator. Regular airlock doors don't, but the ones I want do. So here, let's go ahead and... These actually might be able to be manufactured elsewhere. I just don't know on what. So the blast doors, I want to make 2 of them. So I need copper and steel. I did just make a whole bunch of steel here, and God knows this electronics printer should be full of copper. So I like blast doors because, well, besides the fact that they can withstand a lot more pressures than the regular doors, they also open a lot wider. So if you're holding some big object, they don't get in the way. Okay, so the cables at the top there are not going to be a problem. I'm going to have to work around them, though. And to manufacture these blast doors, I'm going to need steel sheets, which I might not have any, but I can manufacture those pretty quick. Oh my god, I'm bumping into everything. That's why I got rid of this fabricator. So I guess I'll lay out the blast doors now. These will eventually be on the Vitals network. I don't want doors yet. If you add doors before you want doors, you end up having to open and close doors constantly, which is really can be a nuisance. Look at my beautiful plants coming up
Light
so quickly.
Light on.
Alright, so it told me that I needed to weld these. Oh, wow. It used... How many steel sheets did that use? It should use a lot because the blast doors are hardy and heavy. It's probably enough steel sheets for now. And then it's probably going to need plastic or something like that. I forget off the top of my head. Alright, so it requires 3 steel sheets. And now it requires 3 more steel sheets. So as you can see, the portal, if you will, the height and the width of the entrance of a blast door surely surpasses these dinky little doors. And that way, if you are carrying something like a portable... If you're carrying one of these things, right? They can be a little challenging to get through these little doors. Whereas in a blast door, no problem. Blast doors are nice and wide. You could carry You could carry a construction supply bin through these. They're big, is what I'm trying to say. They're big and they allow you to pass through. And they look nice. They make me think of Star Wars, maybe. I don't know. Alright, so that was a little bit of a digressing. But I just wanted to make sure that it was totally fine that that I had cables here. Because some of the airlocks don't allow you to have cables at the top. Some do. Some are picky, some aren't. It's actually kind of nice that I have green cables here because these blast doors are going to be on the green cable network. So all I have to do is drop this power down there and we'll be all set. Okay, so the power available logic reader should be... Let's turn this off real quick. The vitals battery. Oh, and I need to say the charge of the vitals battery. And it's fully charged. The power required is going up because I'm using these logic chips. And then the writer here... Oh, is that... Yeah, that just screwed that up. Well, if the default color is green... Yeah. The reason that's screwed up is when the number 36000000 was written to the LED, right now the logic writer, because it was on, was set up to write to color, which is not good. So the vitals battery LED and setting. And the input here will be the power available logic reader. So now... Oh, actually, I need to do one other thing with the memory here. I need to set it up for type. Because it's not set up for watts. And it needs to be set up for watts. So I'm just going to slap my battery or my memory wherever it will get slapped down to. That will work. Grab some green cables, repaint my reds greens. Alright, so what I need to do here is to have the logic reader read this memory and then set the type up like I did before. So logic reader, let's find just memory. Setting should be 0, and logic writer, the input will be the logic reader and the output will be the LED and it will be the mode. And then I can step through this and change the mode to watts. Wunderbar. Then I should also probably do that for the other LED display. This one needs to be relabeled because I uninstalled it to reset its color. So this will be the vitals power usage LED. And turn this off. Output to the other LED. Turn it on. And now this output to vitals power usage LED. Oh, oops. Mode. Now this will be watts. Good. Then we are good with the memory. Finally, I kept forgetting just one more step. Just one more step. Okay. I can leave that memory there. It's not hurting anything. Because I'm going to need to set up more LEDs on the other side. So over here, we will fix all of this logic down here. So the power required is set up correctly. So let's go input will be the power required reader. The output will be the Power required LED, which I think just passed. Power usage LED, and setting. 215 watts. Nice. As you can see, the vitals does not require very much power. And then let's fix the battery here. So input will be the battery itself of current charge. And then the input here will be the power available logic reader. The output will be the battery LED and of setting. There we go. Green is all set up, 100%. Well, that required a whole lot of crazy bird's nest beehive cabling, as you can see here. But it's working, and that's what matters. And our elevators are working, and everything else that's on vitals are working. Perfect. Eventually, of course, like I said, the airlock will be put on this as well. So I'm removing some of these steel sheets because now that we have everything glued, so to speak, to the walls, we don't need these frames anymore. They were never going to be permanent. They're going to be walls instead of frames on both sides. So the next step, actually, we're going to want this frame still here, is to start laying out the foundation for heating and cooling. This is a very tough thing to do. The reason is there's so many objects. Most of the objects honestly generate heat. So for instance, the everything over here generates heat, pretty much. All of these manufacturing processes generate heat. The smelters, of course, generate a whole lot of heat. Smelters and furnaces. Most things generate heat and not cooling, which means cooling is generally what you need to do for your base. That's going to be the biggest requirement for a base to run smoothly, is you're going to need to cool it well. And then the more things you add into the base, each additional plant, each additional, construction bench and everything that's turned on, everything electrical, it all adds heat. It's just more and more heat. But initially, when you start to pressurize your base, or if you're ever introducing cold gases into your base, it's not going to be heat, it's going to be cooling, or it's not going to be cooling, it's going to be heat. So the base is constantly trying to fluctuate between too hot and too cold, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So for instance, if I pressurized my base with its current gases in these tanks, most of these current gases are sub-zero. So the base would be very, very cold, and we need to heat it up. But then once the base is heated up, and I start setting up these benches over there, and I start planting, and I start roaming around, even just literally breathing, me standing in the base breathing, I'm generating heat, I'm generating carbon dioxide from oxygen. So we need a pretty robust network of heating and cooling. Heaters are really, really, really easy to use. They're just electric space heaters. So I do believe I have one over here. An electric wall heater. They don't work in vacuum. Or they work, but they don't actually draw power in a vacuum. You turn them on, they do nothing. So I need to decide where I want these heaters to go. Now, another thing is, these heaters are going to be logic driven from gas sensors. So what I think I'm going to do is have each floor sort of have its own heating and cooling, because although all the floors are going to be interconnected through the same oxygen and gas and all that, because the elevator here is not airtight, they might have different heating and cooling requirements. So I don't want one gas sensor like this one to control all the heating and cooling on all floors, because I can almost already promise that my hydroponics floor here is going to require more cooling. They just do, because hydroponics, the plants, for whatever reason, generate a kind of insane amount of heat, and you need to cool it, or you end up with problems. Yeah, it is kind of funny to see all these floating here. Like I said, they're eventually going to be walls, so I'll show you what it will look like on the inside. Once it's done. I did decide against having like a window to peek in. And then what it will look like on the outside. This will require a little bit of plastics. Actually, now I look at it, the cable analyzers are going to poke out the wall. I might need to move them. Or I probably almost certainly will need to move them. But as you can see from the outside, most of the cabling will disappear, except for these cable analyzers, which will poke through the base for now. I can move them if I really care to. And then all of this cabling disappears behind the walls, and obviously this one is aligned incorrectly. It's aligned vertically. But this is what it will look like. And I will be able to shut things off and on at whim, you know, but all of the beautiful cables will be hidden behind behind my walls. So it's sad to spend a lot of time coloring cables and laying them out and then have them disappear, but that's exactly how most of your houses probably work. I don't think you probably have a whole lot of exposed wiring, as most houses are not constructed to be electrical hazards. Alright, so I digressed a little bit. The heaters. We want a network of heaters and coolers, so I have to decide where these go, right? And then, of course, they are going to draw an insane amount of power, potentially. So what I need to do is probably also hook them up all with heavy cables. So usually what happens is each heaters draw a lot of power, like a pretty insane amount of power. So I'm probably thinking of putting a heater here. And they also are noisy, so they click on, they click off. They're kind of, yeah, they're noisy and they're power hungry. They're really not great things to have in your base, drawing off the same network, which is why I'm going to isolate them. Because if I didn't isolate them, they would constantly brown out everything and blow out cables, and yeah, heaters suck. If you constantly need to use heaters, they suck. So one of the design ideas behind a base that doesn't suck like that is try to require a lot more cooling than heating. So that's why over here I had all of the, I guess I have to go around. I had all of these little radiators here, because if I didn't have those radiators, what would end up happening is the gas that got added to these portable tanks would be ice cold. Actually, my CO2 tank is remarkably low pressured. I might need to draw more CO2 into it. Which means that my farm is going to need to heat a lot more. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I guess that's what I'm going to have to do right now. I just realized that the farm has, because I've been playing for so long, and it's been active for so long, it pretty much ran itself out of CO2. Who would have thought? Oops. I'm on the wrong one. The vents are over here. Active vent. Iron, gold, copper. There's my gold, there's my iron. And I'll just use this copper. I am making a mess. I think I repurposed the active vent that was supposed to be the inflow somewhere else. And all I really... Oh, you know what? It's actually also possible that this vent here, this pipe here, has a lot of CO2. And it does. Actually, it has an insane amount of CO2. I don't need this active vent. Sorry, active vent. I'm going to put you away. I will need an active vent for my airlocks eventually, so I don't need to destroy it. So to add CO2 to this, all I need to do is turn on the filters. And as you can see, the CO2 is no problem. It is being refreshed because I had a lot of CO2 in my pipes. You don't need... Filters don't require a lot of power. It's 5 watts a filter, but it does use up the filters. So what I was doing here is when I'm not needing the filters, I just turn them off because I don't want to use up the filtration units themselves. But now I have plenty of CO2 to go around. And that reminds me of my CO2 pressure over here, and they look okay. The filter health on here is 90, 89. Yeah, I don't need to replace these anytime soon. Yeah, filters are just fine. And they should still be filling up. It's going to be a little challenging to see that they're filling up because I have so much pressure, but if we look closer... yeah, it just ticked up. It's because they're still drawing power. These active vents out here are still drawing atmo from the world. Although I'm not seeing the air lines either. The like gas lines, the flow indicators. But they should still be working. One way to tell for sure is A, that this pipe network does have gas in it, but if I shut down all of my filtration units, this pink intake pipe should pretty quickly become pressurized. So let's go ahead and do that. And in fact, because I have no need for these filters here, I'll get to turning them off. Alright, so proof of purchase here is, yes, there it goes, it's getting pressurized. And I can pressurize that up to like 50 MPa before filtering anything. So I could actually leave that. It's actually not a bad way to design your base. It uses filters up a lot less. So if you're worried about filter expenses, that's one way to reduce filter expense. Now that I'm staring at this, I probably... Before I start working on my heating and cooling, I really ought to fix the cable analyzing problems that I have that are ugly. So what I'll do is put my cable analyzers somewhere else on the purple network, and that will just be fine. And then I'm going to be just about out of time at the end of this. So let's recolor. And everything's going to need to be fixed because I'm screwing it all up. So now this cable analyzer is not going to be visible from the outside when I wall everything off. That's good. I sort of forgot, you know, about the fact that it would poke through like that. All right. And again, doing the other one. And this will screw up some of the logic reading down here. As you can see, it's throwing a bunch of errors because the object that they're reading data from just disappeared and it doesn't know what to do. It's like, guys, I was requiring information that you deleted from my network. Come on, face up. Oh, I can't. I can't put it there because that bumps into the heavy cable. Can't put it there because I'll be able to see it. I can put it here. Yes, the Stationeers is all about constantly tweaking to make sure things work and lay out quite right. And this will not be the last of it. Alright, so let's fix this now. So this is the power required. I'm going to turn it off first. I'm going to need to rename. Although there's really only one cable analyzer per colored network, I'm still going to rename them anyway. Vitals cable analyzer and Atmo cable analyzer. Grab my screwdriver. Atmo cable analyzer and power required. Done. And now the logic writer should be working. Just to make sure that this is live data, we can flick things on. 892, flick things off. 842, yeah, that still works. And why did this change at all? Oh, I killed the power to it. Yeah, I did, didn't I? Because that's where the analyzer was. Okay, I'm gonna have to screw this up some more. I was wondering, the battery shouldn't have changed at all, but I had clipped some cables that it required. Alright, that's all squared away. Cool. And for green, this is, let's turn this off. Input. Will be the vitals cable analyzer and power required. Done. And to make sure that that's live data, we'll turn this off. That should drop. 225 and now 235. Good. That works, and now those cables will be hidden. Those cable analyzers won't be visible through walls or anything, which is a little bit nicer, I suppose. And I can also get rid of this frame. I wasn't planning on having frames jut out of my building. I'm not maybe the most beautiful architect, but I do know that really ugly framing sort of ruins the aesthetics of everything. And in fact, I will go so far as to say I'm going to put that wall segment back. I had actually left the piece there to put it back at a future time. Okay, that looks good. Pocket these heavy cables and call this the end of the episode. So I guess to recap, what I did is I just set up the green networks and then sort of thought about how to do heating. The next battery is going to be colored, I guess, red for heating and cooling. I don't know. I'll pick some arbitrary color. But there you go. Getting my control power room pretty well set up. I feel pretty good about that. Pretty good about the layout. If you have any tips, tricks, feedback for me, drop me a line. I do enjoy all of your feedback, and I will address your comments as soon as I can. I hope that my very rudimentary cooking instructions at the beginning of this episode were also useful to you. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll catch you all later. Adios.